Well, major report to share with you guys today. The Biden administration has just pulled their dirtiest trick to date. You see, just a few days ago, on August 24th, they completely shut down their Disinformation Governing Board, and everyone gave a big fat round of applause. However, that very same day, under the radar, the Biden administration decided that they would hand over that role to the Department of Homeland Security. You are going to be chilled to your very core when you see what was handed over. But before I get into it, I have to give a shout out to my partner at backupsolarbank.com. If you guys don't have one of these things, I want to encourage you to get one. This is charged and powered by the sun. Then you take this little device, you set your cell phone on it, and your cell phone gets charged with this device. But the beauty about this thing is if you're out hiking or doing something like that and your cell phone dies and you get lost or whatever the case may be, you have this to charge your cell phone, so it can be a lifesaver. Check it out at backupsolarbank.com and use the coupon code Lisa and the number 15 to get 15% off. All right, so let's dive into what on earth is going on with this Disinformation Governing Board that has been revived by Biden's Department of Homeland Security. Well, for starters, we know that on August 24th, 2022, the Disinformation Governing Board was completely shut down due to outrage by Republicans and even far left Democrats. Take a look here at communistnewsnetwork.com. Department of Homeland Security shuts down Disinformation Board months after its efforts were paused. However, what the Department of Homeland Security did instead is they created an entirely new advisory council and made it so that the Disinformation Governing Board became one of their job duties. In other words, you don't need the Disinfo Governing Board because it now falls under the job duties of the Department of Homeland Security. Here is the actual document because I like to use sources themselves rather than media sources. Here we are, U.S. Department of Homeland Security. You can see their logo there, and you can see this was published on the very same day, August 24th, 2022. As a reminder, it was shut down August 24th, 2022. And here it is, Disinformation Best Practices and Safeguard Subcommittee. Now it goes on to say, here's their mission. Congress created the department to fulfill important national missions, including countering terrorism and threats to the security of our country, securing our borders, protecting the nation's cybersecurity and critical infrastructure. Notice how they included election infrastructure, and providing rapid and effective responses to natural disasters, among others. Its authorities are grounded in the statutes, creating each of its components. And then they add this. Notice, again, not part of the original intent. The spread of disinformation poses threats to these missions, as shown by the below examples in Appendix 1. Examples are grouped by the Department of Homeland Security components responsible for relevant DHS mission. Now, let me just hit the pause button right there. If that was originally part of their description, then it would have been in there when the department was created. But newsflash, it wasn't. So the Biden administration decided, let's just add it in there, including election integrity. Then they go on to give examples of what that poses here. And you can see critical infrastructure. Here's their example of how Disinfo is now part of DHS. The example is, in the early summer of 2020, a conspiracy thread widely online that 5G cell towers are responsible for the spread of the coronavirus, leading to attacks on cell phone towers and telecommunication workers, particularly in the UK, continental Europe, and New Zealand. Notice not one example was given of it happening in the US. They said, threats were made and there were examples in UK and Europe and New Zealand, yet not listed here in the United States. Yeah, we need to use this as a reason to, make sure we create a Disinformation Governing Board, aka Ministry of Truth, within the Department of Homeland Security. Just make it one of their general duties. Because, cell phone tower might be attacked. Just a thought here. That's kind of the job of our local police departments because, hey, if there is any threat to a 5G cell tower, that would be handled by a local law enforcement, not the dang DHS, a federal department. But wait. So why is it getting included on here? Good question. Good question. But they go on to give more examples. Election security disinformation undermines the confidence. In other words, you're not allowed to say certain things about the election that we don't like, aka here on YouTube. You have to say the election is solid. It's solid. It is solid all the time. Anything else doesn't fly. Isn't that opinion? Isn't that supposed to be an opinion about the election? I digress. Don't worry. They included it on the Department of Homeland Security. That's not all. It also gets into FEMA. FEMA has observed, this is an example, a rise in disinfo targeting individuals via text or direct message, telling them to send their bank account information to a particular address or website in order to receive FEMA assistance. Wait now, that pretty much happens on a large scale. We get phone calls here at my house. I got phone calls all the time saying, hey, give me some money. We're an insurance scam. Your credit card has been canceled in order to re-get it, blah, 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 blah. That's just called a scam. Hey, when does it become the job of DHS to handle scams? Again, newsflash, we all know it's not part of your job. You just want a reason to surveillance our internet and decide what is and isn't true. And I guarantee you, it's going to have nothing to do with scams. This is in our Department of Homeland Security. So what are they going to be looking at? What are they going to be doing? We're going to have detection. Department of Homeland Security components vary in how they track the dissemination of disinformation that can undermine core department missions. In other words, they're going to track and trace everything you do because, in the event you might have something that they don't like that you've said. Not just track, they're going to mitigate it. DHS components currently engage in a number of activities to address the disinformation that impairs its core missions. And it goes on to talk about it. I'm going to get into all the examples. They actually give examples on the whole 9 yards. But look, it's all about gathering information and shutting you up if you say things that they don't like. And here we have analogs across government. It says, wow, the components of DHS have some of the most compelling reasons to address disinformation. No, they don't. That could undermine their mission. Other agencies of government have for decades taken similar steps. This is far above and beyond anything that would be considered similar. Here's what I'm talking about, right? It is important that DHS address inaccurate information that undermines its critical mission. In other words, go against the narrative. We're going to shut you up, like they shut you up with COVIDs, like they shut you up with certain information that they don't like. Anything that went against the narrative on vaccines, they shut you down for. Anything that went against the narrative on masks. However, YouTube changed its policy on masks now, but I digress. Anything that went against its policy on the election, anything that went against its policy on Hunter Biden. Shall I keep going? But don't worry, here's some of their recommendation that says, we previously recommended to the full council. The council has accepted our recommendation that there is no need for a separate Disinformation Governing Board on their own documents, in their own words. But it is our assessment that the underlining work of the department components on this issue is critical. The department must be able to address the disinformation threat streams that can undermine the security of our homelands. In other words, what the hell do we need a Disinformation Governing Board for? We are that. That's what our whole duty is. A major portion, a good portion of the Department of Homeland Security, screw the board, shut it down. On the very same day, we'll publish that we're just going to do that. They're not really seeking your help or advice. This is now what we're going to do as part of the Department of Homeland Security. I tell you what, if that's what they're for, then we need to revamp the department or disband it, just like the FBI, because that is not what you were created to do. But don't worry, they're not going to be looking at things like election and COVID misinformation now, are they? It's all about critical missions. Well, let's see. To address this mandated mission, the department needs the ability to identify, analyze where necessary, address certain incorrect information, especially but not limited to information that tends to undermine the safety and malicious efforts by foreign governments and foreign actors to manipulate the American public. Pause. Doesn't the government manipulate the American public often with propaganda and media, but I digress. Let's move on. We emphasize in this regard that the Department of Homeland Security does not have a broad remit to address all inaccurate information or disinformation, nor does it have the authority to silence or sanction anyone's speech. Rather, its efforts should focus on assessing whether public disseminated disinformation impedes mission assigned by the law or disseminating correct information. The department can and should speak publicly about that information. Let me just hit the pause button right there. So the DHS is saying they don't have the ability to silence or sanction anyone's speech. However, we learned over this past week that that's exactly what the FBI did. You see, you guys can look this up on your own. I'm just kind of sidetracking here. The FBI went to Mark Zuckerberg and told Mark Zuckerberg, hey, there's Russia disinformation coming out soon. Just keep an eye on it. Wink and a nod, wink and a nod, and wink and a nod. And literally moments later, out pops the Hunter Biden laptop story. So what does, Zuckerberg do? He suppresses Hunter Biden's laptop story at the word of the FBI. The FBI comes out and says, yeah, we often tell people and warn them of, misinformation about propaganda coming out or foreign propaganda coming out. We often tell social media sites that. So the FBI admits that they silenced information. Wait now. That's not, and wait, you don't have the authority to silence, but yet you just use the FBI to do that. Department of Homeland Security. I digress. They're just totally BS. But again, I said, it's not like they're going to look at COVID or anything like that. Examples, right? Here's some examples of products release and activities that are undertaken by DHS components to address disinfo. COVID-19 disinformation. In other words, yep. We're going to look at some of that information and we're going to silence that, but we're not really going to silence that publicly. We're just going to do it under the radar like the FBI did. Then it gets into more other things, disinformation toolkits. It scrolls down here to disinformation that stops with infograph sets, taxonomy, bug bites. Oh, you guys are going to love the bug bites. Real or fake news. Real, fake demonstrates how threat actors capitalize on political and social issues, especially around the election. Oh, they're going to monitor election stuff to stealthily plant doubt in the minds of targeted audiences to steer their opinions. Isn't that what you're doing? Isn't that exactly what this board is doing? They're going to silence certain information to steer your opinion. Hey, manipulate graphics, misinfo, disinfo, information. Rumor control. Yeah, we're going to control rumors, but don't worry, just around certain areas. Social media bot tools of disinformation, what they use, and war on a pineapple. Yeah, but speaking of, they actually have another document, this one right here, their appendix, actually gives you examples of the whole thing. Now, these are in two separate documents. I will have both of them in the description box below. But as you notice right here, COVID-19, disinformation, say no to coyotes, foreign interference. We already have department that handles that. That's supposed to be their department, but I digress, and many others. But you can see totally about the disinformation tools that they plan on using. But here's some of what's inside of it. Here it is. COVID-19 disinformation, false and misleading information related to COVID. So here's some of the things that they don't want you to talk about. The virus origin, the virus scale, how big, 5G and COVID, government response, how they responded, and prevention and treatment. None of your business. Doesn't matter if you're a doctor or not. We control what's on that piece document. This is the Ministry of Truth, 100%. They may have disbanded and completely erased by name the Disinformation Governing Board, but they just handed the job over to the DHS. This is why I say this is one of the biggest tricks to date. Then they go on, here's another one here, the war on the pineapple. This is interesting. They go on to talk about how Russia went after pizza and pineapple. Obviously, it didn't, and they admit that here. They're just using that as an example of how Russia interferes in our elections and interferes with propaganda. And it goes on to say how they, have opportunities to, divide Americans. Wait, now, isn't that what the media has been doing and the government has been doing for quite some time? Then they open up accounts and they amplify, get out the message. That's what they're trying to stop there. In other words, silence everybody and anybody that they think is Russia disinfo. And everybody and their mama, including Trump and all of his supporters got accused of being Russian agents. You see how that works? Just gonna throw that out there. Not only that, but then they have recognized the risk of disinformation, what to do, how to stop it. And I'm not gonna sit on all of these, but I can put the reports in there so you can see them for yourself. This is the biggest. This is all the documents I believe that they were going to use for the Disinfo Governing Board. They put a new title on it the very same day they disbanded it, maybe prior to, because they knew they were going to disband it. Let all the outrage against the Disinformation Governing Board pan out so the Republicans could say, hey, we canceled the Disinformation Governing Board. We did that. So the governments could wear their little halo and hat and then do nothing about the DHS publishing this. I freaking livid. I'm sorry. I am so mad. That's what it was. Biden said, hey, we'll put this bait out with the Disinfo Governing Board. You scream about it, we'll shut it down. They shut it down. And then under the radar, we'll give the entire thing to DHS. And our stupid rhino Republicans don't do jack. What now? We ride into the oblivion of whatever. By the way, there's one other thing on here I wanted to show you. Here's there. How does it impact election? This is stuff they want to censor on the election. And of course, this little bug bites. This series this is interesting. So this is all in their appendix on examples, right? So this is a comic book. I'm going to phrase to you how this thing goes because you got to see it. But anyway, I heard her dad talking, happy, loving family, whatever. Dad, go to work. See you later. I'm a journalist. I'm really good at what I do. She goes on. He gets a phone call from her dad. Her dad says, hey, I got a call. I got to go to a 5G tower. Some idiot just blew up the 5G tower because of false misinformation online. And so he goes to the tower. Evidently, he gets hurt by this guy. He goes to the hospital. And the guy, I don't know what happens. He dies or whatever, gets arrested. I missed that part. But anyway, Daddy goes to the hospital. He's rushed to the hospital and he calls his daughter. I'm hurt. I'm in the hospital. And make sure you wear your mask, baby. You wear your mask, baby. Anyway, they go to the hospital and get into the hospital. And then she's sad. She's not happy. This happened to her dad. And she says, well, if misinformation wasn't allowed to spread, this never would have happened. So she becomes this big advocate in place. And we're going to shut this all down. In the name of safety and security, tyranny always rises. They can sell you anything they want. For example, hey, listen. We need to put trackers in your car, a camera in your car, and hey, why not some kind of breathalyzer or something, because people die from drunk driving all the time. Now, millions of people have died. And if you don't put that stuff in your car, millions of more are going to die. We have to stop it, and we have to stop it now. And by the way, we have to be able to track your car because God forbid, what if something happens, you get lost or some stranger takes your car? This is the way that we can keep it from coming back, and you can still get your car. And the camera, obviously, you have to have the camera. What if a kid in your car gets stolen? People get stolen out of their cars all the time. Don't you want to see the face on the person? This is why we must track you, put a camera in your car, and then also, get that breathalyzer in your car because we are going to save millions and millions of life. By the way, when we have the technology of driverless cars that actually work, then we all need to do that and just allow the government to drive you around. And hey, you should microchip your children, just like your dog. When they get lost, millions of kids could be saved and their lives could be saved if you just stick a microchip in their hand or forehead. Mark of the beast, Bible prophecy. Anyway, hey, all in the name of safety and security. Obviously, I don't agree with any of that, but I'm just trying to show you how they can sell you anything they want in the name of safety and security and saving lives. And this is exactly what they're doing here. And they will take away all of your freedoms. Hey, I got a social score that I can sell you. If you don't start socially scoring your citizens like they do in China, where, China sold it to their people. Hey, we've got jaywalkers. We've got people not paying their taxes. We've got people stealing from stores and saying things they shouldn't online. And we're just going to lower their score, in the name of saving lives and saving people. Wait. In other words, we can lower your score if we don't like you. So we got to sell you this score to keep you safe. Thank you, government. We got to get rid of the cash, because there's so many bad drug deals, and drug dealers would not be as prominent if we got rid of cash. Sounds like a international order being pushed by global organizations like the United Nations, World Economic Forum, that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm just livid. And I'm not joking when I honestly believe Biden gave a Disinfo governing board as a cover to completely hand it over to the DHS the entire time. And I am going to be livid. Why is there not one word? Here we are, days later, right? Days later, 5, 6, some odd days later, and nothing from our Republicans, not one word about this crap. In fact, the only people I heard talking about it are InfoWars. That's it. No one else. Where's the outrage? Contact your senators, your congressional leaders, and let them know to be on outrage of that. And this whole dang thing needs to be dismantled. This entire adding on to the DHS needs to be dismantled. Anyhow, I love all of you. If you really want to know what's going on, look, I get into the actual documents and reports. Get to restrictedrepublic.com. I cannot stress this enough. I've got critical information on there that you absolutely need to hear. If you really want to know what's going on right now, I am giving away an amazing offer of $50 per year forever, as long as you have it. Once a year, $50. Use the coupon code FOREVER50. This is how we're able to stay on air. You get content without any commercials on there. You also get Justice Night and myself. You get multiple people. I would eventually love to bring some more on here as well on Restricted Republic. An exclusive content that you're not going to get here out at restrictedrepublic.com. Anyhow, I love all of you. I'm Lisa Haven signing out.